In this video, we're going to jump ahead and talk a little bit about forms because even though forms would be an advanced topic, for most sites you need at least a simple contact form. So I'm going to show you how you can do that with Atrium without having to be a web developer. So I've got a new page on my site called Contact, and I've got some content in here where I might put a phone number or directions, address, etc. And then I'm going to go to SitePilot and I'm going to add a new form, and I want to have a form over here on the right hand side of the page. So to do that, I do the same thing I've done throughout. So if you look at my page, I've got two content elements. And this time I'm going to create a new content element in my page. So I'm going to edit my page, go to my Contents tab, and I'm going to create a thing called a dashboard. Now, a dashboard is the backbone of a technology called Freeform. And we use Freeform to build web-based applications or just simple forms that you would put on a website. So I'm going to edit this dashboard, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it my contact form. Now, forms are inherently grid-based, right? You have form fields that lay out multi-column layouts and things. So this is set up as a grid by default. I'm going to refresh this thing so I get a grid spec. And I'm going to say it's going to be a 12-column grid this time because I want it to be on the right half of the page. 100%, we'll talk about that as we build out the form. And everything is going to go in 12 columns. So it's going to be a 1-column layout to start. And I'm going to save this. So I've saved it. I've got my two content elements of my page plus my SEO information. Now I can go edit this dashboard directly. Now, what you do with Freeform is you put gizmos in a dashboard and you build a form. Now, these gizmos, there's lots of stuff going on here, but in short, you want to create this element type. Now, gizmo is something new you haven't seen. Gizmo is not available on a page. It only works in a dashboard. And in my case, I'm going to create three. I want to create one for a first name, a second for an email address, and a third for a button that's going to be used to submit the information and send me an email. So now I'm going to edit my part just like I have before with HTML and pictures and so on. And I'm going to call this G-name. So this is a naming standard we adopted. You can call it anything you want, but this is a good pattern to follow. Now I'm going to select from the type of gizmos that are available. So I'm not creating something new, but I'm configuring my gizmo. So there's lots of different things you can do, but there's one category of gizmos called input gizmos. And these are all the various types of input fields that we support. So I'm going to use a input string, which is a string of text, for my name. I'm going to make it a required field, and I'm going to put a label on it that says name. Now I'm going to create a new gizmo, and this is going to be Gmail, and I'm going to load it with an input email. So this means I'll get email validation when somebody tries to enter an email address so that I know it's a valid formatted email address. So I'm going to load that up, make that a required field, and I'll put a label on that. And there's lots of other fields and things and configuration options in gizmos, but for a simple form you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. We'll cover all that in more detail. And then finally, I'm going to create a button, and I'm going to call this G button submit. So I need a submit button, and I'm going to go and find, the submit button is actually under the button category, and the main thing you're going to use almost all the time is a button called do deliver. So you load that up, and I'm going to leave the button text the way it is. And the last thing I'm going to change is I'm going to say I want to post a response and alert. That means it'll pop up a message after I submit my form. So I've got these three pieces in here. Now I can, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my contact form, and I'm going to change my layout on the form itself because I want this to be a grid-based layout. And I want it to be 24 columns, and then I want the HTML to be in the first 12 columns and the form to be in the next 12. Or I can just shorthand it and say make everything 12 like that. So I'll save it and come back to my form, refresh, and now I've got a form. Here's my name, Craig, and you can see the highlighting turns off as I type, and here is my email. Sumner C is not a valid email address, but at mac.com is. And as soon as both fields are valid, then I can submit the information. Now, there's no message here yet because I haven't added one, so I'm going to go back to my form, I'm going to go find my button and finish the configuration here. So gizmos, certain gizmos allow other gizmos to be added to them, and a button is one such thing. So I'm going to edit this button, and I'm going to go add a delivery instruction. So this is the final thing is another gizmo. So remember we did a button do deliver, right? Was the gizmo configuration we used before. So here's button do deliver. or there's a whole set of delivery gizmo features. So we can do things like write information into databases, we can send things to other websites, but in this case I just want to simply email the results. All right, so now I can say whatever I enter, I'm going to send to csumner@itrium.com. It's going to be from $G email. So that's the name of my gizmo that I specified here earlier. The dollars tell us to interpret that, and we're going to pull the results out of this field. Subject, contact us requests. And then what you typically want to do is for a contact form, just select input values. That means we're going to dump everything that's collected and send it to somebody. And then response, thanks, we've received your request. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to do is actually name this gizmo and say G deliver email, just so I know what it is. All right, so I'm going to go save it. I'm going to return to my form, refresh it, and now I can type in Craig Sumner, email address sumnerc@mac.com, submit. Thanks, we've received your request. And then if I wait for my email to come in, I receive an email something like this with the information that was submitted through the site. So you can add as many fields as you want to your form. You can organize them in a grid-based layout any way you can imagine. You already know the principles of grid layout, so they all apply to forms. You can nest grids within grids and get as complex or as simple as you want, and you can mix content in your form. So that's it for contact form. A little bit more complex than pages, but the same tools you've been using all the time. Simple and easy.